to give organization a clear and a consistent starting point. Many teams are unsure how to structure it in a way that supports onboarding, communication, and internal navigation. So, in this session, Robert will tell you what the company is, how it fits into the largest Confluence ecosystem, and most effective use cases across different teams. So we'll also go through some key editor, key elements, and the best practices. What like it's built for a meaningful clutter-free hub. And by the end, we will have a Q&A open so that we can also explore how this can work for your own setup. So yeah, thank you. I'll thank Robert for be the speaker of this event. And over to you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. Folks might not know I quit my full-time job 6 months ago to do this kind of stuff. So it's always a thrill to get to talk to groups that are interested in this. But I'll have some slides, and I'll be going back and forth between slides and Confluence. So we'll get some of the concept, like you're talking about. Why do we use this thing? What do we expect? But then also hands-on. We'll build out a company hub together. Quick introduction. My name is Rob. I've been in Atlassian products since about 2013, and my professional background is IT project management, particularly with human resources or people teams. So those are the examples I tend to fall back on. If folks in the chat have other specific examples you want to see, let me know. But I've got a scenario that we're going to build out together based on that. Quick agenda. We'll talk about the concept of an intranet. This term confused me. I'll explain why as we go. But then we'll talk about the hub itself. This is a relatively new feature, so we'll dig in a little bit to its history, but then talk about the special things the hub gives us. And then I'll share some best practices and ideas for building adoption with it. Because like with any tool, we can't just build it and hope people use it. We have to have some structure around it to help ensure it's successful. And in between all of these, I'll be going back and forth between my slides and Confluence Cloud Premium. So please use the chat to ask your questions. You will not be interrupting me. I might have to defer the question to the end, but I'll do my best to acknowledge them as we go. So the first biggest concept is just this thing called an intranet. This is just a local network to a company. This term confused me because when I was a kid, the internet was becoming a thing. And that's what we're on right now. That's publicly accessible. You share information everywhere. And my mom came home talking about her company's intranet. I was like, what is that? I could barely understand the internet. But basically, it's an internal resource for employees and workers. It's a place you all can go to get information on company events or holidays or your company policies or planning, all of that stuff. So it's just a generic term for an internal clearinghouse of information. Now, they're incredibly useful things. Every group builds internal information, even groups of like 2 people. Small clubs can benefit from this in different ways. And typically, you don't want this information to be publicly accessible. Either it is just not meaningful to the outside world, or it's sensitive or confidential. And if it gets out, it can be really, really bad. Also, having a central location is important, especially for bigger companies. I've worked at organizations with 40,000 global workers. If people don't know where to go to get information, it's going to, at best, frustrate them. At worst, cause them to make bad decisions or leave the company. Bad things can happen. So an intranet, and I'm going to struggle to say that, is useful for a number of different reasons, probably more than these, but this is what comes to mind when I think of the need that the company hub helps us solve. Now, Confluence does most of these things. It gives you that internal place to put information. It gives you a central repository to put everything. But historically, it hasn't had a central homepage. When we think of Confluence, we think, oh, there's a space I tend to go to all the time, or there's a page I tend to look at every day. But that's not the same for everyone. People will have different spaces, different things. Kajal, I hope I'm saying your name properly. Is the company hub a different product? No, it's part of Confluence. It's available in Premium and higher. So it's not like a different app. It's just now a part of Confluence. It's a little over a year old, I think. I want to say November of 2024, they really started pushing it. And it solved this problem of Confluence not having a central homepage. Oops. Now, before the company hub, or for groups that don't have access to it, I would see groups typically just make a space called employee homepage, or everyone look at this, or important information here. Thank you, Kajal. I speak American English poorly, and so I do my best to pronounce other people's names as best I can. Um, and a lot of groups would put a lot of work into building out these universal spaces. And then they just kind of hope people find them. Like if we think of a list of spaces, and we'll see this when we get hands on, you have to know where to go to find the thing. So companies would add it to onboarding. They would talk about it in all hands. They would do their best to get everyone to go to one space and just kind of hope that people use it. And usually not many people would find it and not many people would use it. It's hard to find. It looks like every other space. Even if it's being maintained and has useful information, it's just not easily accessible. And that's what this company hub is for. We're seeing two screenshots stacked on top of each other. My mistake. And it's available in Cloud Premium and higher. So if you're using standard or free, you won't see it. It can also be not enabled or disabled. So it's possible groups have access to this and they haven't used it yet for some reason, but it gives you that central homepage. Now, and that makes it a universal space everyone can just go to find stuff. It also, when they deployed it, added more macros and elements. So more macros to give you a better visual display of information. Because up until this point, there was no central place. Was no way to have like a carousel of rotating information or cards that displayed things. So in addition to the company hub, we got a bunch more macros that we can use. So we're going to pop into Confluence Cloud. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Both the old way of doing things. So if we didn't have the company hub, we might have something like this, where my HR team has a space that they maintain. And that space is then we just hope people can find it. We maybe tell people to start it and they can go there. Company hub, however, I have hidden, which is a very bad thing. You can customize your sidebar and it lives right down in here. So I'm actually going to bring this up. I'll turn it on and I'll put it way at the top. Oh, I can't. Oh, UI. It used to be higher up at the top. I don't know when they made that change. But I'll just open this up. And here I have a hub. This is the default. We're going to change this together as we go. But you can see it looks kind of like a page, but a lot different. It's full width. It uses that, I think it's called parallax scrolling, where it can just keep going. But visually, it's got a different feel to it. It has these full width segments, sections, whatever. It's got this group of photos or cards or information that I can scroll through. It's got this thing called a spotlight. So just showing you what the hub can look like. And again, this is the out of the box generic. I'm going to go through each of these. We're going to change all of them, and we'll also play around with the settings. But we get a lot of different look and feel. The intention of the hub is different than a page or a live doc or anything else. The intention of the hub is more like an index. If anyone ever used a phone book, kind of like that. It's one spot you go to look something up, and then you click a button and you go somewhere else to get more information on that thing. But the goal is everyone knows where this is and everyone knows what's in here, so they can go search through verified, useful information to get to a place they need to go. So we're going to use a scenario, and please let me know in chat if you prefer a different one, but we're going to pretend we're a human resources team, and we need someplace everyone can go to get information. We're going to use the company hub to do that. We're going to take that default company hub, pull it apart, and then add in things like guidance to onboarding resources or company policies or how to report a problem with your computer or company events. I tried to pick something fairly generic, at least as generic as I could, just to kind of showcase and demonstrate different ways it can be used. This is by no means the only way it can be used, though. So we're going to talk through some of the new features we get. I have a lot of toys, like technical toys, like little cameras. I try to call them tools, but I thought of a toy chest here. We got 4 new things when we got the company hub, and one of these is actually new. We have sections, carousels, cards, and spotlights. Now, these macros are available outside of the company hub, these last 3. So on regular pages, you can go in and add a carousel now. Sections, if you're familiar with other like WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get website editors, you might be familiar with sections, but it gives you more control over the overall layout. This is different than layouts, like the thing that lets us add columns on a page, because it will give us a whole horizontal space we can play in, and it's clearly defined or differentiated from the next one. So you could think of it like a one section layout, but it's a different thing. So slightly different concept. It can include text, elements, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's just another way to visually organize things. In our example, we might use sections to indicate, yeah, onboarding information is in one section. Next section would have our IT help. Next section would have our company events as some examples. Then we got a carousel. This can have up to 10 different frames. So this is the thing I clicked through, but it takes up one space on the company hub. And as people click through it, it can rotate through different information. Imagine it's a list of upcoming holidays. There's 5 upcoming holidays, and it'll scroll through those 5 with information about the holiday, if you get it off, what the company's doing. Now, imagine it has team spotlights, the top 5 employees of the month. This can also be set to have buttons or links so people can click to go get more information. Again, we'll play with all the settings when we get hands on. But another way to display information, especially if it's related information. Again, I picked on holidays because there's a group of holidays coming up, but it could be anything you want to have. And again, this is available outside of the hub. So on my other pages, I can include a carousel if it makes sense. Cards are a little bit different. They can be dynamic, and I'll come back to that in a second because that was relatively new. But these will be images, text, and/or links that are displayed on the page. I typically have seen this used in terms of support. You're a new hire, you come to the company hub, and there's a card for get password help, get laptop help, get network help, etc. But this could be any type of information you want to share. Again, typically related. But the dynamic feature is interesting because this lets you define a list of, say, Confluence pages that you want to be pulled in. And as that list changes, the cards will automatically update. Imagine your company does a monthly blog post in Confluence around updates. This could be set up to automatically pull in the most recent 5 blog posts. Patel has a question on permissions. I will get to permissions soon, my friend, but there are some controls we have over who can access and edit this, but I will touch on those. Cards can have images and/or links, and again, a different way of displaying information. I'm particularly curious how groups have been using the dynamic aspect because this relieves some of the administrative burden. And I'll talk about how do we maintain this thing towards the end. But by making it dynamic, I don't have to think as much about coming in here and changing content. I just have to think through what do I want to show up here and then adjust the setting a bit. Spotlights are new. I hadn't seen these before I refreshed this deck. It's similar to, but different than a section, like that macro that puts the color box on your screen. It helps you draw attention to one particular thing. The company is shutting down for the holidays. You want everyone to see that. There's a massive product release coming out. You want to draw attention to it. The CEO just had an important announcement. You want everyone to know what's going on. So Spotlight is another way to highlight information, and it tends to be single topic. It's just one, I hate to say panel because that's a different thing, one pane of information that'll show up on the screen. Okay, we're going to go back in and look at all of these tools and just explore some of the things we can do with them. So we're back on our hub. I'm going to go edit it. And this one already has a lot of these things added. So right at the top, you can see I've got a blank section. I can delete it, so I can manage it just like I could anything else. And then I've got the next section. I can also insert sections if I go all the way to the bottom. I've got these pluses that unfortunately don't show up between sections, which is annoying. That's a feature I'm used to in other systems. But to add a new section, I can just click plus, and you'll see it inserts a new one and then prompts me, what do you want to put in here? With the company hub, I'll talk more about our planning and how do we think through building it at the end. But typically, I want to sit down and draw out, like on a piece of paper, what I want to be on here. So when I actually start building it, I don't have to think too much about it. So by the time I go to this screen, I already know, oh, this section I'm going to title maybe IT support. Whoa, didn't want to do that. Come back. And then I'll add a quick description. Get help from our great IT team here, or something like this. I do have all the same editing options I have on a page. So this will look and feel just like the page editor. I've got my friend Rovo hanging out up at the top as well. So I have different options for formatting. I won't dig too much into those because they're all similar. I will get rid of this though. And for IT, I'm going to go in and add not a carousel, I want cards. So I'll use that example I mentioned. So displaying links as cards. Now you'll see I just had 6 show up. I'll just go edit. And first thing I have are some options in terms of styling. So I can make the cards bigger or smaller. This just depends on what I have. I like to make sure everything fits on 2 levels. And my goal with most of this is I don't want people to have to scroll to see one section. So ideally, this all fits on one screen. We can just, display them as a row. People can scroll through them, or just stacked, they call it. If I go back to row, I can also auto scroll. This is, I think, also relatively new. But if I tick this every 5 or 8 seconds, it's going to automatically go back and forth. So folks don't have to click to see what's up. I'm going to turn that off for now and go back to stacked. I have some other options in terms of look and feel. For the company hub, I always recommend putting more time into making it look and feel really nice. Again, this is where someone goes to get help. It should be very visually pleasing, exciting, pick your term. So I'll put in extra time to get all the colors to match my company colors, the background or the text. I have some options with layouts as well. Do I want the images to change heights? But then we get to the content. This is where I mentioned we can do dynamic cards. So if I set this to dynamic, I won't define each individual card. I'll just define some rules that help. Olivia, sorry, I just saw the chat. Are changes public? Not yet. If I go back real quick, this particular hub has not been published. So this is treated similar to a page. While I'm doing all this, people won't see all of this. And especially in this case, because the hub isn't even live yet. So this is still like in a draft mode, essentially. Tushar, good to see you. So if I click on build dynamic cards, this is where I can define essentially a search in Confluence for what I want to see. Maybe I only want this to include blog posts that were last updated in the past 30 days, and I don't have anything. Let me try the past year. Now, this is an Atlassian 1 instance, so there's stuff in here, but this is all, placeholder information. But you kind of get the idea. I can come through here and say, oh, only verified blog posts that have a certain label in a certain time frame. And then as more things are added, this list of content will keep changing. So from the administrative standpoint, this is great. Many groups struggle to keep things updated. It's just going to do it for me. I can even adjust the number I want to show, maybe just the past 3. I also, there's also a new one here, target audience. I haven't played with this one too much. It's new, but choosing which user groups will get to see these. So this lets me take a group I have defined in the org and only displaying these cards for those groups. Imagine if your organization has, different IT policies for different regions or different support channels, and you have groups that define that. You could say, hey, only the mobile dev group sees these cards. Other people see different cards. I haven't tinkered with this too much because it's new, but this gives us more flexibility. And this is really where our planning comes in. Like understanding who should see this information is important. Kajal, can we show gadgets from Jira dashboards? No. The cards are limited, or at least as best I can tell, to that dynamic thing where it just pulls in links, essentially. I can link out to something in Jira, though. So here I change it to manual, and maybe I want this to link to a particular work item. So if someone clicks on this card, it would take them to the ticket MP44. Or I should be able to put in a hyperlink. This is Atlassian community. So if I have a hyperlink to it, I could put it in here. So I can't natively link in a dashboard, but I might change this title to say like, IT support dashboard and a description to see the IT support dashboard. And so from the end user standpoint, this will take them right there. I just had to do a few extra steps. We can also do things like change the images. This service now ties into Unsplash, which is a stock image system. No, I don't think this shows up anywhere else in Confluence, but I appreciate it because it lets me pick different images. Again, the look and feel is important. You can also upload your own, though, or not use one. I tend to use them just so they're more user-friendly. I would just repeat this process, though, for each card if I'm doing manually. and build each one out to whatever support resource I need. I won't take the time to do that here just because we have other topics, but by the end of this, I'll have some list of cards that are available. So if I publish this, at this point, it's now visible. I have the cards I wanted. Now they're way at the bottom. So I'm going to do some more cleanup. I'm going to rip out most of these sections just because they don't fit our needs. I'm going to go back in and edit. Maybe I'll leave these top ones and I'll get rid of all the other sections. I can just delete them as I go down. All right, now I've got a spotlight. I'm going to change this spotlight to say, recent CEO announcement about our finances. Wow, finances. Spotlight card edit. It's going to look similar to a card. And you'll notice a lot of the editors for these new macros look almost like the same exact thing. I think they just reused a lot of the same back end. Our finances are great. Message here. You can also here add a button. So some of these allow us to insert a button to go to different things. I'm just going to pick on this one particular Confluence page. Kajal saying this looks similar but better than a Google site. Yes, that's something else I've seen teams do. They want a different look and feel, so they rely on third-party tools like Google Sites. This helps reduce the need for that. For me, Confluence is about getting as many people in here to work together. And there are many reasons people don't do that. They don't like the look and feel. They want a different feature, whatever. So Company Hub gives us one more tool in our toolkit to help keep people in one spot. And that's important because that reduces all the context switching. Like if I had to go find this CEO's announcement on our company's website, that would be a few minutes. I have to go click another link, search around and find it. Instead, it's right here and I can just click to get it. You don't have to use these macros. I've been focusing a lot on them, but you can just build out. Oh, this is a spotlight. You can just build out the page to be a page. So here a spotlight has been used and it's full width. So we have some other editing options. Here I've got some cards and this is a layout. So again, we have the ability to use all the regular formatting features we want. I'll change this one to be like company holidays. Whoa, there we go. Upcoming holidays. Go in and edit. I don't believe we can't pull in like a Confluence calendar in here. We could insert it separately, but I was just checking to see if we could pull in a calendar into the card. We can't. But we have all these options. We can auto scroll as they go. And from here, I would then just change the cards to be the upcoming holidays we've got. Holi's coming up in early March, I believe. I could add a card for that. Whoa, helps if I spell it right. It's coming up. And last one was a carousel. I don't think I've done yet. So I'll get rid of this. Carousels, again, all these things look similar. Carousels look like cards, but they'll rotate through. So as people click between them, it's this nice scrolling effect. It can also be set to autoplay. So every 8 seconds, it'll just go to the next one. I tend to turn that on because people will miss the fact that, hey, you've got multiple things here. So this one, maybe I'll make about new hire onboarding. So, day 1 information. Then my next one would be day 2 or day 5 or what have you, week 2. And start working on and on. And here I have this same unsplash where I can browse through and find interesting pictures of things like a starfish. Like a starfish. There we go. Or, of course, insert my own company branding. This is also treated similar to a page. It is published, so this means other people can see the version that I published. I haven't published the update yet, though. So here I'll just click update, and now everyone in the company will see this. And there was a feature when they first rolled this out, it was one company hub for everybody. They were talking about, did they do it? Yeah. Providing different hubs for different groups. I don't know if that's been live yet. I'm just noticing this drop down at the top with different team names. So let's go back into edit real quick and see if that can tell us anything. Add links and organize. Okay. This is one thing I love about doing these sessions. I trip over features that are new. So I'll figure out what this is about and send more information back to the group. But there was talk about giving us the ability to have different hubs for different groups within an organization. I'm of two minds on that one. Like if the idea of the hub is to ensure everyone gets access to this information and different groups see different information, that seems kind of silly to me, but that's just my own perspective. But those are the new features we get. And again, they are available outside of the hub. I can go to just a regular page, API documentation, and go edit. And I've got access to cards and carousels. Do I have spotlights and spotlight? So they're available in other places. So consider this as well as you're building content. You can use those tools to make it a little bit more visually interesting. And just a quick shout out to the Q&A feature of this. Along the bottom, there's like chat, direct messages, etc. There should be a Q&A button. Selfishly, if you can use that to drop your questions, I just see them all in one spot. I'll keep checking the chat though. So those are the new tools we get, like the new macros and features. There are, however, settings around the hub, and somebody asked around permissions, and we'll get there with this section. It is fairly lightweight. I'll be honest right now. We do get some analytics, not many, but we're starting to see more data like click-through rates. So it tracking how many people are clicking on links on the homepage or on the company hub. This is a good start in my mind. If we really want a solid intranet, one place where everyone's going, then in my mind, we need more information to be able to track how did people find this? How did people exit? What are they looking for on here that they're not finding? But it's a start. So we've got the general tab. This is all it shows. I wish I could say there's a little bit more at the bottom, but it does give us the recent activity. So when I'm thinking of the hub, I want to make sure it's being used and that there's engagement. Right now, I can track the number of views, so I can see over time, how are people using it? In this example, I can see my hub rollout was a complete failure because no one used it for a month. And then I got like 2 views here. Again, I'm the only person in this demo box, so I can't show you a good graph for the analytics or good clicks, but it does track how many times is it viewed and what's getting clicked on. So in terms of me managing this, I spent all this time building it. I now have at least something I can use to figure out, is it successful? Are people using it beyond people just complaining, hey, Rob, I can't find information. The next tab over is more interesting. It's got some more analytics, the number of views, unique viewers, etc. And this, again, more insight into how the group is engaging with the tool. This will be important in our last section when I talk about things like maintenance and engagement and buy-in. Because this will give us hard numbers we can point at and say, hey, we updated the hub on February 15th, and then we saw a spike in traffic, and this is good. Or, we saw a big drop off in traffic after a certain date. Ooh, yeah, that was the last time we updated it, so maybe we need to refresh our information more. The click-through rates, the CTR, is also important. I think of this in my own, like I'm self-employed now, and I use click-through rate as a metric of success. Am I writing good content? Like, did people click on the link to go view the thing? So in our example, are people clicking on the link to read the CEO's announcement? They're not. Okay, why are they not doing that? Is there enough information on the hub, or do we need to make it more enticing? This also ties into your goals around the company hub. Like, is the goal just to have something out there that people can go to? Or is your goal to actually get people to go to some content and learn about it? Again, in the example of the CEO's announcement, maybe we want 20% of the company to read it for some reason. This could help us track how are people getting there. Patel, I love this question. Can we display it as a homepage? I don't know offhand, but we're going to find out together. I had not thought of that one. We can reset the Confluence link in the top left. So we're going to go a bit off my script when we go back in and just see what we can find. And then we've got this users tab. I skipped a step here. When they first built the company hub, uh, the the access wasn't fully integrated, so there's an extra screen I'll show you. But back to where was that question? I got to scroll up. Olivia, nope, Olivia was saved or not. Patel, your question, permission levels. We can control, who can access it, who can edit it, who can view it. So you may want to exclude certain groups from the hub. For example, you may not want contractors to see it. I pick on that group because sometimes companies determine they shouldn't. And Kajal's got a question. How do you access a published page? Do you have to go to the company hub to see the pages? Are you talking about the hub itself, my friend, or other content in Confluence? And I just want to clarify the term page because that could mean the thing I look at when I'm looking at the hub or a piece of content called a page. But here we can define our access in the same way we can everywhere else, users or groups. And this is something groups will or companies will typically set once and forget about, but it should be part of our planning to review on an ongoing basis, especially if we've made a decision to exclude groups. When we make these decisions, we should always be able to justify why. Okay, we're not allowing contractors in because they don't need to know about our internal announcements. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, before I dig too deep into the settings, I want to go tinker very quickly. So I'm going to click on Company Hub. I'm just going to copy this link, and I'm going to just jump into our Confluence settings to see if we can figure out Kajal's question in the next minute. Now the question is, do I remember where that link lives? All right, so this is the setting that controls when someone clicks on Confluence, where do they go? And for some silly reason, the company hub isn't listed. For example, if I set it to Project JQuil, JQuil is the funny way I pronounce JQL, and someone clicks on this. Oh, of course I have to save. It should take me there, but there's no option to set this to company hub. I will go see what I can figure out because it makes a lot of sense to me that you would be able to do that. So let me go ask around because that seems like a kind of a no-brainer we should be able to do. Back to our hub, there's a gear section up in the top, and this is where those settings live. I'll get to your question about how do we get to it, Kajal, in just a moment. So my first settings are these general ones. Again, I'm the only person in here, so these don't really, nothing will happen here. But here I have these high-level metrics. I can also see the hub history. So I can come in here, and this is similar to a page history. If you're familiar with like the version controls, I can see what are the differences between these versions. Now they've even started adding in our little friend Rovo. And this also works on pages, but I can just see, hey, what are the differences between versions? The other thing I can do from here is rename it. I usually recommend groups rename it because the term company hub might not make sense to most people. So whatever makes the most sense for your team, please change the name in here. HR Central. Everyone look here, please. Whatever name you have to try and get people to engage with it. I can also turn it off. So some groups have opted to disable the hub because they choose not to use it for some reason. If you hit this, it will make sure it's not visible, and that's for everybody. So this is like I'd say it's like archiving a space. That's not true. It's just entirely turning it off. You can come back in here and turn it on though, but it disables it entirely. Analytics are a bit more useful. Again, I also get impressions. So Project JQL was seen by one person, no visitors, no clicks, no click-through rate. But as people start to engage with this, checking on this regularly will give you a very good idea of how people are using it. So in our example of an HR, one place that HR is setting up, are people actually clicking on the links to go to get IT support? Are people actually viewing, the resources we provided around the holidays? Are people looking up our policies from here? This can help us figure that out. We can also do it by time frame. Oh, look at that amazing ramp. 0 to 2 views. Great job, team. This is the extra step on users I mentioned. It just annoys me that it's not shown here. So you got to take one extra step and click on this. But this defines who gets to see what. And these are the defaults in this space or in this instance. But it's saying all users have the view role. Now, this is also using the new role-based access controls. And actually curious in chat, is anyone using the new role-based access controls? I'll put a quick question. You'll see it abbreviated RBAC. It went live, I think, in October. But groups have an option to use kind of a hybrid version for a little while. My controls here are similar to a space. I can go in and add people or groups. I can come in here and manage access, remove them entirely, etc. Or even just reset to default. But this is identical to managing space level access. And this is where, again, I might not include certain groups of users because I don't want them to have access. Remember that access is most permissive. So if I don't include Rob specifically, but he's in this group, he'll still get access. Patel, not using role-based yet, but thinking about it, I'd highly recommend. It's going to be a habit switch. I think it'll happen eventually for everybody, but these roles are a lot easier to manage than all of those checkboxes, right? Like I can't make a mistake giving someone access if I know it's an admin and I give them admin. It's just preset. All right, so that's our access. Those are the settings. The analytics is definitely something we should be checking on a regular basis, maybe every month, every quarter to review and see are we hitting our goals. The permissions maybe every 6 months just to double check. Again, this is the maintenance of having a tool. But usually once you set the permissions, you kind of don't have to go back to them because they're just what you want them to be. Right, questions? How do you access the hub? Ooh. Kajal, I see that question on Rovo. I'll come right there. So when I'm in Confluence, just go back here. Yeah, I don't need to save that. It's down here. It's under your content hierarchy. So if I go customize my sidebar, it's an app shortcut. They've split it out as its own app now. I don't know how I feel about that. I could see that being advantageous in the future, but right now, again, it shows up in a slightly different spot. I cannot drag it up into Confluence navigation because it's a separate application in the same way Jira is a separate app. So it shows up down here. They used to have a bar for it, I want to say up at the top, but that appears to be gone. So I just click on that and then I open up the hub. Can I use Rovo to make the hub? Let's find out. I can use Rovo within the hub. Create a, let's see what this does, a new section that includes information about our holidays. Boop. While that's going, I am running a session in late March with a new feature they have called, aha, look at that. There's a new feature they're deploying called Create with Rovo. You may have tripped over it if you're making content. This one at the top. Basically, it's now allowing Rovo to edit content. So you saw it here, just go in and create this. This is a super simple example, but Rovo can create whole pages or databases. I've got a live event, virtual one, where folks will get their own version, their own one instance, just like this, to go play with it. That might be able to do more in the hub. I haven't tried Rovo in the hub, though, so I'm going to go update this, and I'll go into this chat. Edit my company hub to include information on upcoming events, including team water balloon fight, team dinner. I haven't tried this yet, so I'm curious to see if Rovo can access the hub. It can, like, it would make sense to me if it can, right? It touches our, okay. Can you do this? It doesn't look like it can. Sometimes Rovo, when you ask it to do something, will just give you the instructions on how to do that thing. So here it's saying, I can do two things for you. I don't have actual edit access. So at least it's telling me, hey, I can't do that. And so it can tell me what to do. So it can't from chat edit the hub. But we saw when I was editing the hub, it has some ability to go in and insert. I wonder if it can add macros. Insert a cards macro for me. Can users outside the organization view this hub? Where did it go? Did it do it? Did I miss it? I might have missed it. Not. All right. Can I? Where did it go? Did my screen freeze?
No, it's working fine.
Okay.
I think there might be a network issue at their end.
Gotcha. How does this work as central access if we have multiple sites? Yeah, the hub is bound to the site. So if you look up here, one Atlas XUKG is my site. That's a good question because the part of the purpose of a site is to like restrict the ability to see stuff. So if I have an EMEA site and an APAC site, they're wholly separate things. My org admin can see them from the standpoint of, access or app control. But I don't have a good solution for cross-site. One argument would be each site is distinctly different enough that it needs its own hub, right? Like my workers in EMEA have specific information about EMEA, and the ones in APAC have different information. And like knowing what the team events are in EMEA doesn't really help me if I'm in APAC and vice versa, using that HR example. I could see useful instances of, like what I picked on with the CEO announcement. Like there could be some universally useful things, but I don't have a good solution right now for having a centralized place across sites because each site is distinctly different as of now. Eunice, single page for the whole org. What you saw me trip over, Eunice, was this menu at the top. It looks like they're starting to add in links, and let's just learn about this together. I can set up a menu of links. Okay, great. It's an element, so it's a macro I can put in. Well, wonderful. Here, I'll change this very quickly. I want to do. So what I'm seeing here, all this is allows me to set up a hyperlink that goes somewhere else. So think of this as navigation. I might have one called Atlassian Community. I'm picking on this because I know the Atlassian Community URL off the top of my head. But now when folks come to my hub at the top, I thought this was letting us see different variants of the hub. This is not. This is just saying you can use this link to go somewhere else. So that's not very useful. So as of now, it appears to be just one hub per site for everyone. I don't currently have the ability to say, hey, if you're part of the engineering group, you see this hub. If you're part of the finance group, you see that hub. Tushar, is it open for all plans specific to premium and enterprise? So you'll see even on the documentation, premium and enterprise only. So if you're on standard or free, you just won't see the company hub. It just doesn't exist. Can users outside the organization also see the hub? Let's go into our settings and our users. We can add in guests. I cannot make this anonymously accessible. And I'm just double checking. But if I have guest users set up, whether it's a group, is there a user class? No, I only get these two. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to find a guest or have a user group that contains them, but I can't make this anonymously accessible. And that kind of ties back into the first few slides where this is an intranet. It's intended for use by people who in some way work at this organization. So this is not something I would build out, as a homepage for an app or, hey, you need support from our support team. Here's 12 ways to do it. I would need something different. I would probably just have a public space. And that also kind of makes sense because this is accessible everywhere in Confluence. right? The intention is it's one place I can go within my team. There's so many terms that mean something specific. I was trying not to say organization. I can go anywhere in this site, there we go, and get access to this company hub, right? If I have a publicly facing resource, let's pretend IT operations, we provide support for anyone in the world for IT. I would just expose this whole space publicly. And then that's the one place people go from the outside to get information. So the hub can't be generally exposed. If there are guest users, you could give them access. Multiple groups in Active Directory, can we use those on restricting access? I'll be overly technical, no, because Active Directory groups don't show up in Confluence. But if you sync those Active Directory groups to a group in Atlassian, then yes. In this example, let's pretend, I don't know if I have any good sounding groups in here. Let's find out. User. Aha. Let's pretend this analytics users group is an Active Directory group. So something happens in Active Directory, it feeds a list of people into Atlassian, and that populates this group, then yes, I can use this group to restrict or control access. Very common setup would be to say, have a group just called general users or something and give them view access. Now you will notice in here, I've got two different looking options. These are user classes. So a shortcut, instead of having to have a group called like company hub access, I might just say everyone who is a user in my Confluence site gets the viewer access. Everyone who's an admin gets the admin access. This removes the need for me to have that group. However, you might want to be a little bit more fine-tuned control around who has access. Maybe you don't want every user to have it. So instead, use one of your groups. You'd have to work with your IT team, though, to sync that group with Active Directory. I think, I got chats. Hang on, let me go back here. Okay, I've got a few more slides and we'll jump back into this in the Q&A. But so far we've spoken about like the nuts and bolts. What are the features we get? What are the new toys? But with any system, with any deployment, we need to consider how do we get people to actually use it? Like it's one thing to build an amazing company hub and use carousels and spotlights and all that. It's something else entirely for your team to go find use in it. And I always think of like anything. When I think of swag at conferences, I go, does it have utility? Does it do something useful for me? A hat keeps my head warm, so I took one. A pen lets me write things down. All those little USB thumb drives are trash to me, so I don't take them. Same thing with our systems, right? Like we have to give people a reason to come here. That all starts with a plan. I mentioned earlier, like before we build out the hub, we should draw out, and it could be on a whiteboard behind us, in a Confluence whiteboard on a bit of paper, what we want to show up on there. And that plan should also include things like when will we turn it on? We're not using it yet, so no one's going to miss it. Maybe we turn it on after the next major holiday. Maybe we turn it on at the first of the year. Maybe we turn it on to align with some business goal. But think through when will it go live? And then have a plan on communicating. How are we going to tell people about it? It's a new thing, right? We could put it out and maybe 5% of our workers will find it. But if we have Slack messages and Teams messages and we put up posters in the hallway and we tell every team manager about it and it's in the all hands, it's more likely people will use it. We also want to consider the content on there. In our HR example, like I was just drawing from my experience, IT support, new hires, etc. But we want to figure out what information will be displayed there. And remember, it's for everyone who has access to it. So ideally, it's any random person in your company will find something useful on the hub. And then who's going to own it? Who's going to maintain it? Many groups do a great job of building things out, right? They spend all this time making a good page or a space or whatever. And then in 3 months, it falls apart because no one goes in to regularly change things. We saw some tricks for this, like the dynamic cards, but we still should be actively maintaining it. And this brings us to our team. Like you can, as an individual, go build out a great hub. However, you'll build a much better hub if you pull in subject matter experts, communications experts, champions for Atlassian stuff, anyone who's interested in helping. And this can also help build your buy-in. Instead of you just getting in front of a group and saying, hey, I built this page, it's called the company hub, you can say, no, I spoke to this group of 12 people and we have determined, here's the most useful thing for the team. What do you think? So getting more perspective and information on what should go in here, how should we do it, will help strengthen the deployment. And again, with a hub, it's it's company wide. So there can be a lot of eyes on this, a lot of people watching to see what happens. By involving more people, you get more people interested in it, and two, reduce the chance of it, I'll use the term flopping, not being accepted well or not working well. All right. Did I miss a slide? I did not. All right. Questions. I think I caught most of them. I saw one more in my Q&A. Eunice, you're welcome. Technically not a question, but I'll take it in the Q&A. I'm just going through to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, Patel, I like that centralized information across sites. I like that concept. I personally know what I know because I was forced to figure it out. I tell folks in almost every session I do, I had no training in Confluence. I was just told I got a new job in the Bay Area, and I said, "Where's our knowledge base?" And someone said, "It's Confluence," and that was my training. I haven't worked at any place that has multiple sites, so I haven't been forced to figure out how do I do that. But I'll have that as a takeaway to see what can I figure out, or if other folks in chat have a good idea. All right, folks. But what other questions do you have? We've got another 5 minutes. I answered. Oh, I got one more. Ha. Content is blogs. Can I use a Confluence page? Yes. I like to pick on blogs a lot because I think people don't use them enough, and they are a useful tool. All right, I'll go back in and edit. I think what you are referring to, Kajal, is this one. So in our cards, they can be dynamic. Like we can have the content be displayed dynamically based on some search. It supports pages or blogs. So I could have said, you know what, only show me pages that have been updated in the past year. And maybe I'll make this the past 30 days because I have stuff. So we have a lot of different options. We can't, and this is common as well, like whiteboards and databases don't show up here. I think it's because this is intended as text information. But I could do pages or blogs in this dynamic content and then further refine it based on things like owner labeling, verified or not. Eunice, can we get, what does Answer Live do? Oh, it lets me mark it as answered. Sorry, I'm just pushing buttons now in Bevy. Eunice, can we get posters on useful sessions that are coming up? Do you mean, are you asking, is there a way to show a poster or something like that in the company hub? Or are you asking about other live sessions that happen in the Atlassian ecosystem? I can't unanswer that live now.
That's a new feature that I'm seeing. Answered live.
Yeah, I see a dismiss and answer live and a reply. So, okay. In the Atlassian ecosystem, so there is a lot of live stuff, and I'm going to zoom out a little from just the company hub. This is Atlassian community. Now, your ACE leaders, I'm sure, have a lot of local stuff. I'm an Atlassian champion as well, but I'm a champion in the virtual space. But you can always come to events and look under Find an Event. Now, this is global, so you'll see stuff all over the world. You can filter by region. So I'm in the Bay Area. Where did San Francisco go? There it is. And this will now show me just things in the San Francisco Bay Area. So this is the in-person stuff. There is a virtual one. It's under global. I will dig up a link and send it to folks. Community-led classes. Here we go. This one. So these community-led classes are virtual. They're just hosted by other champions at different times. You'll see my head pop up quite a bit. But we've got stuff from Matt Rayner, who does some great work, automations in Jira. So it's a very varied amount of content in here. And this is from community champions. We also have stuff under learning. Let me back up. That Atlassian offers live training, and there's public classes here. So these public classes are also virtual, or most of these are virtual. Many of them are free. So I have one coming up on Monday on the difference between Jira Data Center and Cloud. So there's two different places you can go, and I'll drop these links in the chat. I also see this is being recorded. I don't know how Bevy shares this out, I'll be honest, but there is a recording that I assume your leaders can, champions, I keep using the wrong term, can share out with you. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm back.
definitely. We can upload that recording on YouTube and share it with the newsletter.
Oh, amazing. Let me know when you share it out. I'd love to see what it looked like.
That's actually a big stuff. Like the recording is around 2 to 3 GB. Then we have downloaded it and uploaded it on the YouTube. We can do that later.
I guess just some parting thoughts on if you have access to the hub, be careful about publishing it because then it's live, but go in and explore it or go open a page and look at those macros because the carousels, the cards, the spotlights can be used on non-hub pages. Keep engaging with others, though. This community is a great place for that. It's local. You know a lot of these folks. And the more perspective you can get from different people on how they use it, on their ideas, the stronger you're going to get. And then check out the community and attend your local ACE chapter, right? Like you've got Shivam and Shishant, use them. They're great people. They have a lot of great knowledge and they're doing a lot of work to make it easier for you all to learn. So I'll pick on them, but go talk to them, see what they're up to, and go to their events because they put in a lot of effort to make really good stuff for you all. All right.
All right. I think if you guys can give us 5 more minutes, we can do a short quiz if you want. Or otherwise, we can end up this session here.
There's a quiz?
Actually, we planned a short quiz for the audience. So if they are okay with that, we can take 5 minutes more for this a short quiz, like 5 questions quiz. What all say? Let's see. Okay, they are saying yes. Some have to jump for the another call. Okay, let's do it for the rest of the audience. Let me share my screen. All right. Let me know when the screen is visible.
Didn't know I'd be quizzed. Would have studied.
It's from your session only. So you have the answers right.
Oh.
All right. Start joining from this QR, or maybe you can join on the menti.com by putting on that like the pin that is here. One player have joined. We have 14s here.
Oh.
Rest of. So for the lucky winners, for the 3 lucky winners, we have gift vouchers. So please try to answer it fast because it is fastest finger first. So
I think fastest correct answer first is what you mean to say.
yeah. Fastest finger first. All right. We have 8 players ready. I will wait for a few more seconds, then I will start. So is everyone ready? All right, let's start. So start quiz. All right, when should you create a new space instead of just creating more pages? They are like very basic questions, so you can read that and answer it. When the pages get too long, or whether you need a new template, or maybe you want a different page layout. Or the second one, like when the content has a different audience. So let's see. Okay, most of you have answered it right, but yeah, some have interpreted it wrong. When the pages get too long, that's not the correct one, and the different page layout is not definitely the correct one. So when the content needs different audience, like the company as Robert already shown. So yeah, now move on to the next question. All players are ready. Okay. So, okay, let's see. What problem does a company primarily solve inside Confluence? Very, very basic.
I should know this one.
The options are like very vague as well, like the storage limit and the slow performance. Let's see how it goes.
It is interesting how many of these challenges like don't exist anymore in the cloud world.
All right, we have some options from storage limit as well, like some were.
That
That's
might have
cool.
been me.
All right. Okay, so the correct one is the content discoverability and the central navigation.
Woo! Everyone got that one.
So the third question is, all right, let's do it quickly. We are already over time. What metric would best indicate that your company have been successful? Oh, that I think you have already shown in the a few minutes back.
Tusharo's complaining that I'm playing. I'm also trying to answer every question wrong, which is kind of hard.
So yeah, most of you are correct. Like number of active contributors, like the analytics that we have got in the company hub. Okay, now on the second last question that we have, which is, what is the main risk of creating too many independent spaces? Let's see, the licensing cost, or maybe the reduced integration, maybe with the Jira or any other app of Atlassian. The slower search speed, or maybe the inconsistent governance.
I could argue slower search speed because there's more stuff to dig through, right?
Might be. The slower search speed can be the correct one. But yeah, the correct one is like the knowledge silos and the inconsistent governance. Now, with the last question, let's see. Okay.
Oh no. You froze. At least for me. Oh.
Sorry, guys, I lost my connection.
Very anticlimactic. It's a good cliffhanger. Oh no.
Okay, I think I am back again.
Yeah, we see you.
Okay. Sorry, guys, I lost my connection. All right, let me see if we can get back to this question again. All right, the last question, guys. This is your chance to be on the top of the leaderboard. Okay. What feature helps create dynamic overview pages without duplicating content? That might be confusing for me as well. What could be done? Even though I adjusted the answers. Okay, so the macro is the one where you can just customize your page as per you, like you can embed something in your page as well. Okay, so that's the correct one. Now see the leaderboard quickly. Who has won the quiz?
Yes. I did it. I got them all wrong.
Okay, I think you tried answering it wrong as well, Robert. You tried distracting audience. So we have got Nick, then Kajal, then Dheeraj. Oh, please drop your email IDs in the chat. I will share your gift cards on your email. And thank you, Robert, for giving us like a insightful session on that company hub. Like I think everyone enjoyed that because there are a lot of questions.
Yep. That was great, Robert.
Yeah,
And thank you. Thank you so much for this session. Like we get to know more about that, why a company has live and how we can use it in a more way. Like that's a great session.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Call me
And
back
even,
anytime.
like,
I'll be happy to keep talking.
Even you're spending your morning with us, like it's I think 7:30 here there.
Yes, this is my break. I now get to go get my kids up. So if you'll excuse me, I got to jump off. But thank you all so much for having me, and have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Thank you so much, Robert.
Have a very good, guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye-bye.